Hey guys, welcome to Hook with Anime. If you like the video, make sure to subscribe my channel. Without wasting time, let's start. Village of Sadala, Chapter 18, Fire Nation, Konoha Academy, Iruka's classroom. The next day, Iruka was smiling as he was watching his students doing their math problems and making chit-chat with each other even though they should be studying. He even decided to let the Nara continue sleeping. Normally he would have told them to stop chit-chatting and keep studying, but he would have to tell them what was coming to Konoha and tell them what the Hokage told him yesterday, and that Konoha is going to war with the other nations. His smile faded away as he closed his eyes and took a deep breath. It was now or ever. Everyone listen up, he said, getting the class attention, even Shikamaru, who woke up to hear what he was going to say. I'm afraid I have some bad news to tell yous all. Some of yous may have already know this from your parents, but for the rest. He waited as he saw the look of concern on their faces. Our nation is at war with the other 4 great nations as of yesterday, he said as he saw the look of concern change into fear over what he said. War? Why? Choji said as he stopped munching on his crisps. What I'm about to tell yous all is what happened at the Cage Summit, he said before taking a deep breath. The summit was arranged by the Mizukage and the Water Daimyo to discuss the nation of Sadala's sudden appearance and the numerous Saiyans they have been hiding. Iruka saw someone put his hand after he mentioned the name Saiyan. Saiyans are a group of people who we would call cursed, because of the lack of chakra and the ability to transform into giant monsters on a full moon. Iruka said as he saw the hand go down. Now back to the meeting. Water, Wind and Lightning nations agreed to join forces to take over Sadala and split its resources evenly with themselves, as the land that Sadala is on is much larger than War. Large enough to house 4 of the great nations on it. Our nation was against it, and Earth nation was split with its daimyo wanting to join the other 3 nations in taking over, but the Tsuchikage didn't. Our nation even invited the general of Sadala to come over to the summit in hopes of making peace with the other nations, but I'm afraid it failed after the Raikage punched the general. Iruka said, seeing the looks of shock on his students' faces. Afterwards the 4 great nations Earth, Wind, Water and Lightning joined forces to take over Sadala, and we joined forces with Sadala. Any questions? Iruka said, seeing a hand raised from Shikamaru. Yes, Shikamaru, Iruka said. Why did the Raikage punch Sadala's general? The Nara said. From what I've been told, the Raikage wouldn't go to war with Sadala if they hand over the Hyuga clan they had over there. The general response was that he was a fool like his predecessor who was his father. The Raikage took offense to that. Iruka said. The Raikage is a fool. Kumo, he tried to get the Byakugan years ago from Konoha and failed. The incident nearly led to war with Lighting. Hinata said, not letting more details of what happened during the incident, especially the parts that she was kidnapped and her uncle switched places with her father to fool Kumo into thinking they got the clan head to learn the secrets about the Byakugan. Even if the Raikage is a fool, Sadala will still lose the war against the other nations because they are weak, Natsumi said, getting everyone's attention. Don't be so sure about that, Namikaze, Hinata said, glaring at Natsumi. Oh, and why is that? Natsumi said. Saiyans are much stronger than they appear to be, considering my clan has first-hand experience at the way they fight. I'm quite sure the other nations are in for a rude awakening, especially when their general is far more powerful than the fox you got stored in your gut. Hinata said, getting an angry look from Natsumi. With the power of the fox at my call, there is no one more powerful than me in this world. Remember that, Hyuga? Natsumi said, getting a laugh from Hinata and a glare from the fox himself. What's so funny? Natsumi said with anger. You seriously believe that? It doesn't matter if you have the fox's power or not, there will always be someone out there stronger than you. Hinata said as Natsumi stood up from her chair and proceeded to walk towards Hinata to show her just how wrong she was. However, just before she got to Hinata, something crashed in the front of the classroom, shocking everyone. As everyone turned their attention to what crashed in front of them, they saw Naruto laying down on his back on top of Hinata, who was unconscious. Naruto stood up covered in bruises and scuff marks, who was looking at the hole where he crashed from, waiting for someone. Naruto, Hinata said with surprise, causing Naruto to look towards her. Hinata, what are you doing here in Sadala? Naruto said, but immediately put his arms up, blocking a kick from a girl with short spiky hair who teleported in front of Naruto. After blocking the kick, Naruto launched a punch at her only for her to dodge it and launch several more kicks at Naruto, who dodged them. As Naruto continued dodging the kicks from his attacker, he failed to block an uppercut that sent him straight through the ceiling of the classroom and the one above as well, launching him high into the air where Naruto saw he was in Konoha and not in Sadala. Wait, how did I get here? Naruto didn't get the chance to figure out how he got to Konoha before his attacker teleported in front of him and proceeded to continue her assault against Naruto. Satsuki. Wait a minute, Naruto said to his now identified attacker, who into the fight to notice her surrounds had changed. Back in the classroom, Iruka went towards Minato to see if he was still alive as he laid on the floor. Hokage, are you okay? Iruka said as he heard a groan from Minato, who slowly opened her eyes and sat up. Where am I? He said as he felt pain from his back. Sir, you're in my classroom. What's going on? Iruka said with worry. I remember dropping off Shikaku with the general, then I demanded to see Naruto, so Mais escorted me to the Warriors Academy. I was told that they are training and that I should not interfere, but then I saw Naruto getting beat up. I wanted to protect him, so threw one of my kunais behind Naruto, and the next thing I know is that I felt Naruto being kicked into me by some crazed girl, and then Minato said as he slowly realized what he did. Wait, where's Naruto? Minato said as Iruka pointed upwards. You two crashed into my classroom, and before Naruto could say something, a girl teleported in front of him and began attacking him, Iruka said as Minato began thinking on the situation. Damn it. When Naruto was kicked straight into me, I accidentally teleported as here, and it would seem that girl's kick was still connected to Naruto when he slammed into me and got teleported as well. Minato said as he saw the hole through the ceiling and looked at Iruka. That girl gave Naruto a powerful uppercut, sir, Iruka said as he pointed at the hole in the ceiling, causing Minato to go outside to find them, as did everyone in the classroom, as they did not want to miss out on the fighting. As they got outside, they saw someone crash into the ground, forming a small crater and kicking a dust cloud, preventing them from seeing who it was, but didn't last long as they saw Naruto land opposite the crater just in time as several Anbu nearby appeared, hearing the scuffle, as did the Uchiha police force. What's happening here? The male UPF said as the dust settled down, showing Satsuki with an angry look and some bruises and ruffled clothes to go with it. Oh. UPF, short for Uchiha police force. Satsuki, we need to stop, we're not in Sadala anymore, Naruto said, hoping that Satsuki is calm enough to listen to him. Unfortunately for him, Satsuki showed a smile, letting him know that she was too into the fight to listen to reason. Sorry Naruto, but I'm all too fired up. Satsuki said as she moved into the Uchiha fighting stance while powering up, causing white flames to surround her. As she moved into the stance, several Uchihas were shocked seeing it, as the stance was taught only to clansmen. Okay, what is going on here? The female UPF said. Hokage, what happened? You look injured, Eagle Anbu said. You two stopping fighting at once. And you girl, how do you know our fighting style? The male UPF said. We need to stop them from fighting, Minato said with fear as he teleported in front of Satsuki but found nothing as she teleported in front of Naruto with a punch towards to his face, but was caught by Naruto, who threw on back, but was caught by Satsuki, causing them to be locked in a tug of war with each other. They both said as they were engulfed by white flames that was causing a gusts of winds blowing away any stones that wasn't heavy enough. Satsuki, what's wrong? This isn't like you, Naruto said as he saw Satsuki's smile change into anger. Several more Anbu arrived, with one of them recognizing Satsuki. Satsuki, what are you doing here? Weasel said. You want to know what's wrong? Our nation, our home is at war because some people are too greedy and want to kill us. Simple, because we were born Saiyans. Satsuki said as her power began to rise. We'll be fine. We're stronger than we appear to be, Naruto said. But what if we are not? Satsuki said as her anger grew, causing her hair to change to golden for a moment. I just got together with my mother and elder brother, and now because of this stupid war one might not get to see my father and my twin brother, Satsuki said as her eyes changed to a greenish color for a moment. Everyone seeing the changes happening to Satsuki were confused except for Naruto and Minato, who knew it wasn't a good thing. You need to calm down, Naruto said as he began to power up as Satsuki was slowly overpowering him. Calm down. You're telling me to Satsuki said as her anger was unleashed, causing her eyes and hair to change and her flame to golden. Naruto, seeing Satsuki change before him, changed as well, causing the two young Saiyans to look alike. What just happened? And Anbu said. Did they just use some sort of transformation jutsu? But how? The female UPF said. That's not good. These transformations are extremely powerful. Got to stop it before the whole village gets destroyed, Minato thought to himself as he teleported himself to their location, but again found nothing as the two teleported away, leaving a confused and slightly angry Minato behind. Oh come on, not again, Minato said. Hokage, what's happening? Weasel said. Nothing good, Weasel. Those transformations are like the 8 gates, only way more powerful. And Minato stopped what he said as he heard a shockwave above him, as did everyone else. As they looked upwards, they saw Naruto and Satsuki fighting several hundred feet in the air, causing shockwaves that was caused when their punches collide with each other. How do we stop them? The female UPF said. We can't stop them as long as they're fighting above us. We need to bring them down and hopeful calm Satsuki enough that she regains control of herself. It will have to be Naruto to do that, as it looks like he is in control, Minato said, getting a nod from Weasel, who had an idea. If we can get Naruto to strike her down in the Uchiha district, we might be to get her parents to calm her down, Weasel said. What? Her parents? The UPF said in confusion. Her parents are Fugaku and Makoto, and right now they are in the district, Weasel said as he left to let them know. Right then, Anbu, UPF, head to the Uchiha district and make sure everyone is indoors. I'll try to deliver a message to Naruto, Minato said as he pulled out one of his kunais and watched the fight, waiting for the right moment to deliver the message. As Naruto and Satsuki were fighting above Konoha, Naruto made sure that the fighting were strictly hand to hand, as he didn't want an energy ball hitting the people down below them. As Satsuki kept trying to kick him and Naruto blocking the kicks, he saw an open and punched Satsuki in the right cheek of her face, sending her down to ground near the shopping district. She stopped herself before she hit the ground. As she looked at Naruto, she was unaware that several shinobi took a defensive stance, including Kushina, who was shopping. Is she a Saiyan? I thought they were normally had black hair, not golden, and who is she fighting against? Kushina thought to herself as looked at the young girl with curiosity as she heard the fighting above her head. Minato, seeing the chance, threw his kunai into air, and when it reached Naruto, teleported next to him and grabbed Naruto, surprising him. What the hell? Naruto said. Naruto, listen quickly. You need to send Satsuki to the Uchiha district. Her parents might be able to calm her down, Minato said, letting go of Naruto, who gave him a nod. Naruto immediately looked down to see where the district was and teleported in front of Satsuki and Kushina and started launching his own attack against her, forcing her backwards while defending herself. Kushina was about to attack the unknown Golden Saiyan boy till Minato teleported next to her and explained to her what's happening and revealing to her who the two Golden Saiyans were. Kushina, hearing who they were, was shocked that she was about to attack her son. As Naruto was fighting Satsuki, forcing her to the Uchiha's district, all while floating above people's head. Oh, think of the scene in Dragon Ball Super when Goku and Jiren first started fighting, who were in awe instead of fear at seeing two Saiyans fighting each other. As Naruto kept fighting Satsuki, his eyes were looking left and right, making sure he was going the right direction. Thankfully both Anbu and UPF were there, guiding him till he reached his destination. As Naruto and Satsuki entered the district, Satsuki saw an opening and punched Naruto in the stomach, knocking the air out of him. Naruto quickly drew air back and punched Satsuki in the face, but she quickly slammed one of her feet in the behind her to stop herself from flying away from the punch and punched Naruto back, who did the same thing, except Satsuki grabbed his head with her hands and slammed her head against his own. Naruto was in a daze following the headbutt and took a step back, only for Satsuki to try and kick him, only for Naruto to grab her leg before she could launch her other leg at him. Satsuki, a voice called out her, getting her attention. As Satsuki looked to where the voice came from, she saw her mother standing next to someone who she did not recognize. Naruto, seeing this, let go of Satsuki, who turned back towards him with a questionable look. "Calm down," Naruto said, point to her. Satsuki, hearing the words, looked around before looking back at Makoto. "Where am I?" she said as exhaustion began to take hold. "You're in Konoha," Makoto said as she slowly approached Satsuki, as did the man standing next to Makoto. "What was the first thing the instructors told us?" Naruto said, getting Satsuki attention. "Remember where you are," she said as she looked at him. "Naruto, why is your hair more blonde?" she said, getting a smile from Naruto's bloodied face. "So is yours, and your tail as well," Naruto said, getting Satsuki to look at her tail, getting a slight shock from her before looking at Naruto again. "Just stay calm and power down, that is all," Naruto said as he took a deep breath and powered down, turning his hair and eyes back to their original color. Satsuki, seeing this, did the same thing and her features returned to normal, shocking the man next to Makoto. The man stopped where he was in shock of who he was looking at. "Mom, who is that?" Satsuki said as Makoto knelt down to her and gave her a motherly hug. "That man, Satsuki," Makoto looking Fugaku, "he's your father," she said, getting a slight shock from Satsuki, who buried herself into her mother hug in fear. As Satsuki buried herself into her mother, Fugaku walked towards them till he was close enough that he reached out one of his hands and gently touched Satsuki's bloodied cheek. Satsuki, feeling his hand on her cheek, slowly looked at him. Makoto slowly backed away till it was only Satsuki and Fugaku next to each other. As Satsuki placed one of her hand on the hand rubbing her cheek, she rushed towards him and buried herself into his chest, surprising Fugaku. "Dad," she said softly as Fugaku wrapped his arms around her. "Satsuki," he said as tears began to fold down his face. Naruto, seeing them together, fell forward only to caught by Minato, who teleported just in time. "I got you," he said as he held Naruto, who beaten and bloodied from his fight. "Dad, why did you teleport us here?" Naruto said, getting a small smile from Minato. "Yeah, I was told not to interfere in your fight back in Sadala, but seeing you injured I couldn't stop myself," Minato said, getting a smile from Naruto. "You idiot," Naruto said. "That fight was awesome," someone in the crowd said, getting cheers from everyone who saw the fight. "Tell me about it. I hope they got a tournament in Sadala, cause that fight is something I would pay to see," Shisui said, standing next to Weasel, who was smiling behind his mask, seeing his sister and father reunited after so long. Chapter 19. Konoha, Hokage's office. The next day, Minato was sweating bullets as the village elders, General Mais, and Iruka were giving him an intense angry again look for nearly destroying Konoha, all because his parental instincts took over and interrupted a training fight between Naruto Satsuki and accidentally teleporting the fight back to Konoha. Thankfully, the only damage done to Konoha was the academy, and that would be fixed in a few days. In fact, the fight between Naruto and Satsuki had a more positive outcome, as it showed the whole village what Saiyans could do in a fight, giving them more confidence that they can win the war that was soon coming. Most people, before seeing Naruto and Satsuki fight, would ask the Hyugas how two Saiyans were able to take out so many of their clansmen before the fighting was stopped, but most people from the clan wouldn't say anything, not because they started it but because they were embarrassed at how easily they were beaten in the fight. "Seriously, Minato, I told you not to interfere when they are training," Mais said, glaring at Minato. "We've had this discussion yesterday when Naruto, Satsuki and Itachi when they were admitted to the hospital," Minato said, trying to change the subject. "Yes, I know that, but it would seem that I need to repeat myself more than once just to make sure you get the point," Mais said, still glaring at Minato, with the elders and Iruka nodding in agreement. "Still can't believe that was Fugaku daughter Satsuki fighting Naruto. I do not want to be on her bad side," Minato said, getting a small smile from Mais. "I'm surprised Naruto managed to hold his own against her even when she transformed into a Super Saiyan," Mais said. "I'm more surprised by the way they were fighting. It was crazy watching them fight," Iruka said as he recalled the fight between the two Saiyans. "That's pretty normal actually when you're at the Warriors Academy," Mais said, waving her hand like it was nothing, but saw a confusing and worried look from Iruka. "What?" Mais said confusingly. "Is that really how your academy trains their students?" Iruka said with worry. But of course, we Saiyans have not only a lust for battle but we are built for fighting, so much so that our training over there goes like this: if you can throw a punch, you can take a punch. Mayaz said as the elders looked at each other for a moment. With that kind of training I doubt they have to worry about fangirls, Koharu said, getting a small laugh from everyone in the room except for Mais, who was confused. Naruto did say something about crazy fangirls and the like, but he didn't clarify what a fangirl is, Mais asked confusingly, shocking everyone. Please tell me you're lying, Iruka said as he looked at Mais, who was again confused. You really don't have any fangirls at the academy or even know what that term means, Iruka said, but Mais was starting to get angry. What is a blasted fangirl? Mais said with anger. A fangirl, or in some cases fanboys though they are rare, are children who spend most of their time making themselves look pretty by going on a diet, applying perfume or makeup rather than train, just so that whoever they are idolizing will notice them. Iruka said, getting nods from everyone in the room except Mais. Wait, that's a thing here, Mais said, getting nods from everyone. How on Elam do you have an army with everyone acting like that? Mais said with shock. They normally grow out of it when they begin the careers as shinobi, most of the time, Minato said, looking at a slightly shocked Mais. Is it just here, or does every shinobi nation have this problem? Mais said. It's everywhere. How has Sadala not have any fangirls? I understand the warrior academy, but what about your shinobi forces? Koharu said. To become a shinobi at Sadala you must complete a week-long survival course away from the village in teams of 3 with only a few supplies and a sun or a moon scroll, during which you are required to either steal or take another scroll from another team or protect your own scroll. At the end of the week, if you do not have your own scroll or any at all, you fail, but before you can even take the test you must have at least a 90% score in all your tests first. Mais said as everyone in the room looked at each other before looking back at Mais. Damn, that's tough. Your graduation exam sounds more like a Chunin exam, Minato said. Okay, the Chunin exams, I know what that is, Mais said, again getting some looks from everyone. What? Just because Sadala remained hidden for centuries doesn't mean we know what's going in the world, and the Chunin exams is always a good thing to watch, like last year in Suna, Mais said as everyone looked at her confusingly. What? Konoha's not the only village with security problems, Mais said as everyone began to question just how easy it was for Sadala to sneak into places. Anyway, my forces should be here any moment now, Mais said. Konoha's hospital. At the hospital, Naruto, Satsuki and Itachi were discharged with their families, with Naruto and Satsuki having some bandages and some plasters as their injuries were less than what the doctors and nurses thought it was. The only person not with them was Natsumi, as she didn't care about Naruto and was busy training at home to prove a point to Khalifa, as the academy was closed due repairs caused by Naruto and Satsuki fighting. As they left, Satsuki and Sasuke looked at each other and felt nervous. Sasuke didn't know what to say to his twin sister, as the only interaction he had with girls was to ignore them like the ones at the academy who were fangirls. Satsuki on the other hand was nervous but was trying her best to contain her laughter at her brother's hairstyle, which looked even more like a duck's butt than what Naruto said. As the twins looked at each, figuring out ways to break the stalemate with each other, Satsuki saw Itachi injuries and felt guilty for what she did. Itachi, Satsuki said, getting Itachi to look at her with a plaster that was covering his right cheek and some bruising on his face. Yes, Satsuki, he said with a smile. I'm sorry for what I did yesterday, she said, getting a few giggles from Kushina, Makoto, Fugaku and Sasuke. It's quite alright, Satsuki, Itachi said as he looked at her with a smile before hearing someone laughing. Ha 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 ha, that was priceless, the person said, getting a serious look from Itachi. Shisui, what are you doing here? Itachi said to his best friend, who was trying to contain himself. What, can't a friend, PFF'd, can't a, haha, I'm sorry dude, but your little sister totally knocked you out with that punch, ha ha ha, Shisui said as he failed to stop laughing while Itachi could only feel embarrassed at what happened. Flashback, yesterday, as Satsuki collapsed into Fugaku's arms exhausted from her fight with Naruto, Itachi came over and gently placed his hand on her head. That was a bad idea, as her instincts kicked in, thinking she was under attack, causing her to punch Itachi in the cheek, sending him straight into a shop and out the back, knocking him unconscious before she collapsed back into Fugaku's arms, causing him to shiver in fear. End flashback. Ha 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 ha. Shisui laughed out, and not only him but also everyone else except Satsuki, who felt guilty for punching him. Alright everyone, that's enough, a figure said as they calmly walked towards the group before stopping in front of Itachi. Izumi, he said with a smile as her hand landed on the cheek of his face with the bandage. Even the great Itachi can be knocked down, so, PFF'd. I'm sorry Itachi, I can't, Izumi said as she began to laugh, causing him to sigh in defeat. Excuse me, who are you? Satsuki said, getting Izumi to stop laughing, and looked at her. Oh my Kami, you are so cute, Izumi said as she launched herself at Satsuki, who simply jumped over her with ease. Izumi landed face down but quickly got back up and looked at Satsuki with menacing look. Satsuki, this is my girlfriend Izumi Uchiha, Itachi said, getting Satsuki to look at him for a moment before teleporting away as Izumi tried to grab her again and again she failed. Oh. I looked up if Itachi had a girlfriend in the show and it was true. Hang on a second, where did she go? Izumi said, looking over the place till she saw Itachi with his finger pointing upwards. As she looked up she saw Satsuki floating above her with a curious look. And they say that cute monkeys can't fly, Izumi said, getting a small giggle from Satsuki, who floated back down to the ground next to Fugaku, who placed one of his hands on her shoulder. Nice to meet you Izumi Uchiha, my name is. Satsuki stopped speaking as she and Naruto looked immediately to the left of them, which was the east side of the village. Naruto, what's the matter? Kushina said with worry. Naruto, you sense that? Satsuki said. Yes I do, Naruto said. Satsuki, what do you mean? Sense that? Sense what? Fugaku said with worry. It's Sadala's forces, they're coming, right now, Satsuki said as everyone turned to look east. East of Fire Nation, 2 hours earlier, a small fishing village. Alright Dad, that's a lot of fish, a small boy said as he helped his dad carry the last catch. Here, take this lot to your mother, the father said as he handed his son a small basket of fresh fish. As the boy grabbed the basket he saw something in the distance. Dad, what is that? The boy asked as he pointed towards the sea. As the father looked in the direction he saw several figures covered in white flames fly right above him, followed by several thousands of white flames. Konoha walls. 2 hours later. Hi, so when are we going to see those reinforcements from Salad? A Chunin said to his partner. It's Sadala, not Salad, and why ask me? I wouldn't know, his partner said. Excuse, is this Konoha? An unknown voice said, getting the two Chunins to look over. As they did, they saw several people and dozens of people that stopped flying, followed by hundreds more than thousands. The Chunins looked at each in shock before looking back at the individual, both of them thinking it was going to be one of those days. Yes, this Konoha. Seeing the Sadala's symbol on Tay person's armor. I take it you're the forces from Sadala, the Chunin said. Daikon Senju, first class officer of Sadala, guess your directions were correct. Aikika, the figure said. Told you, Aikika Hataki, second class and twin sister to Kakashi Hataki, she said, getting looks of pure shock from the Chunins. What? She said, confused, getting the Chunins to shake their heads. Sorry, we knew that Kakashi had a sister but didn't know that she was so damn hot, the Chunin said, who immediately felt embarrassed. I get that a lot, she said, liking the attention. Anyway, have you prepared some space for my forces? Daikon said, getting the Chunin's attention. Oh right, just a moment, the Chunin said as he grabbed a firework from satchel. Just before he launched the fireworks, Minato, Mais and the dragon Anbu appeared next to him. Ah, Hokage sir, you scared me, the Chunin said, getting a small smile from Minato. You like doing that to your people, don't you? Mais said, getting a sheepish grin from Minato. Maybe a little. Anyway Dragon, have we prepared some space for our friends? Minato said, getting a nod from Dragon. Sir, we have prepared some spaces to the east and north of the village with time that we had. Thankfully numerous hotel establishments have offered to house some of the reinforcements in case we failed to provide accommodations. The only downside is the food supplies that we have will be taxing as the crops this season have been little. Dragon said, getting a worried look from Minato. Don't worry about feeding us, we got that covered, Daikon said as he lifted a scroll from his back. This scroll has a week's worth of rations in it and every warrior here has one and another for medical supplies just in case, Daikon said, getting a sigh of relief from Minato and Dragon. Even then the trip to Sadala is only a few hours for us, so supplies should not be a problem, and besides I don't think this war should last that long, but as the old saying goes, hope for the best, prepare for the worst, Mais said, getting nods from Minato and Dragon. Daikon help with Dragon and see that our warriors' needs are met. In the meanwhile I'll inform Naruto and Satsuki to head back to Sadala, Mais said. Can they stay a bit longer? Minato said as Mais looked at with him with curious expression. Me and Kushina are trying to fix what we did and we know it will be a while before we are on good terms with him, and as for Satsuki I think it will do some good for her to bond with her father and her brother, Minato said as Mais gave out a loud sigh. You're lucky they are still injured from their fight yesterday, but remember Minato, we're short on time and we have no idea when the enemy will be on our doorstep, Maya said, getting a serious nod from Mais as she left to find Naruto and Satsuki. Konoha's hospital. No flipping way, Shisui said with shock as he saw the forces of Sadala hovering over the wall of Konoha like it was nothing. Naruto, how did you and Satsuki knew they would be coming? Kushina said. Easy, every student at the academy is taught how to sense energy and chakra so that we know where the enemy is. We even trained it so that we can still sense people even when we are fighting, like yesterday when Dad tried to stop us with his Flying Thunder God Jutsu. Even though it's an instant technique, his chakra spiked before he used it, causing me and Satsuki to sense it, and we reacted by teleporting above him. Naruto said, getting looks of pure shock from everyone there except Satsuki, who simply yawned. Geez Naruto, can you explain it any more boring? Satsuki said, but immediately grabbed an arm that was coming from behind her and launched a kick straight into the stomach of who the arm belonged to, which happened to be Shisui, causing Satsuki to immediately let go. Oops, sorry about that, she said, apologizing to Shisui, who was holding his stomach with both his arms. No. That was me. Wanted to see if I can catch you off guard with my body flicker, Shisui said as he slowly walked back to where he was. Need a hand, Shisui? Itachi said as Shisui looked at him and saw a big grin on Itachi's face, causing him to scowl at Itachi. Okay. Can everyone please stop sneaking up on the kids? Mais said as she fly down on the ground near the group as everyone looked at her. General, Kushina said as she gently put her hands on Naruto's shoulder, fearing that Naruto would be told to go back to Sadala. I'm here to coordinate our forces and to tell Minato how much of an idiot he is for what he did yesterday, and to tell Naruto and Satsuki that they will be staying in Konoha till their wounds are healed. Afterwards they head back. Understood, Mais said, getting smiles from everyone. Just remember, we are at war with the other major nations, so as soon as they attack I want the two of yous to head back immediately, Mais said, getting nods from Naruto and Satsuki and everyone else as well. Chapter 20. Week later. Konoha borders. The warriors' force of 7,000 Saiyans was split into 4 groups, with the first 3 being made up of 2,000, with the 4th group being the reserves, as the other 3 would be meeting the forces from Suna, Iwa and Kumo, with the general being with the Kumo group, as she heard that the Raikage was leading his forces and she wanted to be the one to fight him. Minato was in the 2nd group that was meeting with the Iwa force being led by Onoki. Minato hoped that by meeting Onoki that he could talk him out of the war, and hopefully he would not have to give the order to the warriors to raid the hidden stone village of their jutsus, as well as capturing their Jinchurikis. Seeing as the ability to fly, they can bypass the enemy forces and head straight to the homes with ease. The 3rd group that was meeting with the Kazekage forces was being led by Jiraiya, who was eager to see the Saiyans fight, as he was out of the village gathering intelligence during the Hyuga incident. He was glad he was in Konoha when he saw Naruto and Satsuki were fighting, and from his observations from the fight he knew it was dangerous to fight a Saiyan in close quarters combat. Kumo frontline. The Raikage was leading his group towards Konoha borders in the land of hot water when he saw Konoha's troops waiting for him. The Raikage told his troops to stop when he saw his enemy waiting for him. As he looked at his enemy, he allowed a small smile on his face when saw General Mais in front with a serious face. He also saw 2 redheads next to her. One of him he recognized as Kushina Uzumaki, and another redhead that looked just like her, only with a scar on her cheek. Both redheads were armed with a red katana on their hips and some scrolls on their other hips. they were also wearing battle armor with the Uzumaki clan symbol on it. The Raikage slowly walked towards the general as his troops stayed where they are. As he walked, Mais walked towards him as well till they were only a dozen feet apart from each other and 100 feet away from their troops. So, you're actually on the battlefield. I'm a little surprised at that. Thought you would be elsewhere someplace safe while your people and your allies would die for you, General. Mais showed no reaction when the Raikage said that. Instead she only crossed her arms. I'm only going to say this one last time, Raikage. Stop this war and let's talk instead. Our people don't have to shed blood this day. The Raikage laughed out loud at Mais' response. You know what we want. Give us your Hyugas and any Uzumaki seals masters as well, and maybe, just maybe, I'll call of this war. Mais closed her eyes for a few seconds before opening them in anger at the folly of her enemy. So be it. Tell me, Raikage, how many people can fly in your army? The Raikage lost his smile and took up a look that showed anger when he saw Mais with a smile on her face. I heard that on this side of the ocean there are only 2 people who can do that, maybe more. Do you know how many of my people can fly? Mais' smile turned into a big smirk. Warriors of Sadala, you have your orders. Raid the hidden cloud village, take their jutsus, capture their jinchurrikis and their daimyo. Mais raised her fist in the air, signaling her troops, who immediately powered up and fly hundreds of feet in the air and over the enemies as they went straight towards their village. The Raikage and his troops were completely in shock that their enemy's ability to fly was true, as they all thought that the rumors they heard from merchants about Sadala's warriors was fake. The Raikage turned back to look at Mais, hoping to at least deliver the first attack, but was met with a punch from Mais to his cheek that sent him straight into his troops. Iwa frontline. Minato was waiting for Onoki and his forces in the land of grass with Fasha beside him, hoping that once Onoki sees her alive and well, the Tsuchikage will call off his forces, or at least hold off until Mais and Jiraiya Hao won their fights. Okay. Serious, why am I here, Blondie? I've told you, you're here to meet your granddad, and hopefully it will convince to stop his forces from fighting, and stop calling me Blondie. No. Minato was about to ruffle Fasha's hair when she gave him a serious look that promised him a one-way trip to the hospital if he tried, and after seeing how dangerous Satsuki was with Naruto, he knew better, especially once he found out that she was the strongest fighter the academy has ever seen. As they waited, they Onoki and his forces approaching them but stopped. Onoki looked at Minato and the little girl, who he assumed is about 10 years old, maybe less, as he floated in the air questioning why Minato brought her, his thoughts only going leading to one conclusion which he didn't like but wanted to confirm if it was real her. Minato, why did you bring this child to the battlefield? Onoki, you know why I brought her here. This fight doesn't have to start. We can let the Raikage and the general decide that for us, and in the meantime you can have a chat with Fasha, your granddaughter. As Minato said that, Fasha immediately looked at Onoki with shock. Wait a minute, Blondie. Are you saying that old fossil is my granddad? As soon as Fasha said that, Minato was in complete shock, as was Onoki and his forces, but for Onoki's shock it felt very familiar, as one other person has dared to call him that. Flashback. Land of Earth. Tsuchikage office. Anki was busying doing his paperwork when the door bursted open. Hi Fossil, ready for lunch? His granddaughter Kuratsuchi beamed as she walked into his office. End flashback. Onoki closed his eyes as he remembers all the time Kuratsuchi would come bursting into his office, and every time she did she would call him Fossil. As he opened his eyes and looked at Fasha, he knew beyond a shadow of a doubt. Yous two were separated at birth for 10 years with a large ocean between yous, and yet somehow yous both have the same manner to call me a fossil, your brat. Minato used every ounce of strength he had not to laugh as he heard that part, but failed as he collapsed on the ground laughing his ass, as did some of Onoki's forces who knew Kuratsuchi. Onoki hovered over to Fasha, who took a defensive stance. When Onoki stopped in front of her with an angry face, it changed into a loving one as he slowly moved his hand to her cheek. At first Fasha resisted, but when she felt the hand on her face she slowly dropped her guard. The last time I saw you was when I gave you to that woman to keep you safe. I'm glad it was the right choice to make, as I get to see you as you are now nearly all grown up and yet far stronger than your appearance shows. As he said this he turned to look at Minato. Very well, my forces shall be on standby till we receive word about what's happening to Kumo. Thank you, Tsuchikage. Don't mention it, and besides it's not the first time Kumo dragged Iwa into its war because of their stupid Raikages. he said as he retracted his hand from Fasha, who placed one of her hands on her cheek. This feeling again, it makes me feel safe, Fasha slowly smiling, this world is so much different than Vegeta, and I like it. Suna frontline. Just like Minato was waiting for Onoki and his forces, Jiraiya was waiting for Suna to arrive as he was in charge of Konoha's forces in the Land of Rivers. As he waited, he saw the Cage and his forces coming towards. Okay, just like we planned, we give them a final warning, and if they refuse I give the command. Suna forces still coming towards to him. They're not slowing down. Suna forces coming closer. Come on Cage, slow down so we can talk it out. The Cage unleashing his gold sand. Oh shit, they're not stopping. Warriors go now. Just as Jiraiya said the command, 2 warriors teleported in front of him and formed a barrier stopping the Cage attack, while the rest of them flew above their heads and headed straight to Suna. The Cage seeing this immediately stopped his attack as fear filled his mind. Blast us. The rumors are true, everyone head back to the village now, the Cage ordered. Suna forces immediately did a 180 and went back to the village to defend as they saw hundreds of people covered in white flames flying above them at greater speeds. As they looked behind they saw numerous balls of energy coming at them, exploding when they came into contact with anything, sand, rocks and people. The Suna forces were able to leave with only a few injuries because the Cage used his golden sand as a shield to protect them, but from what he saw from the attack he knew they were holding back as they attacks only caused minor injuries, and as much as he would like to press the attack he had to get back to his village to help with the defenses. How long before they get back to their village? Said a Saiyan next to Jiraiya. If they keep going non-stop they'll be back at their village in a day, but they'll be extremely exhausted from it and won't able to defend the village properly. How long will it take for yous to get there? Jiraiya said, looking at the Saiyan, who simply smiled. About an hour from here if we don't force ourselves. Jiraiya smiled when he heard it as he looked at the scorched battlefield. I'll say this war might end by day's end, but to be safe let's keep our guard up just in case, the Saiyan next to him nodded. Kumo frontline. The Raikage was both pissed and shocked at the same time. Shocked that the tumors were true about these Saiyans, and their ability to fly as he now seen them with his own eyes, and pissed that the enemy's general who he viewed as weak managed to punch so hard that he launched into his forces who were only 100 feet away from him. As he put one of his hands near his mouth to wipe away some spit he saw it was actually blood from a cut lip. Damn, how can I be so stupid? He should have known that she was stronger than she looked. He punched the general at the cage meeting through not one wall but 2, and if those walls were her now he would have gone through them as well. Raikage, are you okay? Darui said as he helped the Raikage get on his feet, as several Kumo shinobi jumped in front of him as Mais slowly walked towards him taking her cape off her armor. Darui, gather as much of our forces as you can and head home. But Lord A, that would leave the enemy to get a strong hoe. Didn't you just see their forces fly right above our heads? We've no choice but to head back and defend the village. Go now, I'll stay behind and use as much time as I can. When he said that, Mais just teleported past his forces and nearly punched him again, only for him to use his speed to dodge the attack and punch Mais in the face full force, hoping to get some distance, but failed as he saw that Mais had actually managed to block him with her hand, shocking him. Ho! He didn't get a chance to ask how when Mais punched him in the stomach, knocking the air out of his lungs. Darui grabbed his cleaver sword, channeling his lightning chakra through it, and attempted to cut Mai's head off but was stopped when another Saiyan teleported next to him and grabbed his arm. Sorry, but the general specifically wanted to fight the Raikage only, so you'll be fighting me, she said as she flung him away from the Raikage, as did several other Kumo shinobi by other Saiyan's fighters. The Raikage stared in shock again as his bodyguard and his forces were being flung away from him by the Saiyans who were teleporting right into his forces, dividing them from each other. As he saw the Saiyans fight his forces, he saw them move at not only incredible speeds but strength as well, as he saw several of them smashing the ground with their fists, causing massive eruptions that flew his shinobis away from him. As he saw this, it finally dawned to him that even if he managed to win the fight here it would be meaningless, as the fight would cost him and the village dearly, but he knew his pride wouldn't let him talk for peace. Taking a deep breath, he proceeded to unleash his lightning release chakra mode, hoping that by beating and subduing the general he can take back what his enemies were taking from his village. Mais, seeing the Raikage covered in lighting, knew he was going all out and smiled slightly, knew that she might as well do the same. Ah! Mais began to change in front of the Raikage, shocking not only him for the third time but also his forces, as a powerful dust storm was unleashed from her. What is she doing? What is happening to her? Darui said in fear as more hair began to appear on the general. Oh, what that? It's a transformation that we found out that makes us 10 times stronger than our giant ape form, and every Saiyan here can do that, his Saiyan opponent said to him with a smile. Darui was starting to break apart when he heard that. He already knew that the cursed transformations into giant apes rivals the tailed beasts themselves, but to hear that they surpassed that form, his shocks turned to fear. Is what your subordinate just said true? Raikage said, looking at Mais, getting a nod in response. Let's put it to the test, he said as he charged at Mais, who did the same. In blink of an eye both of them disappeared, only to appear when the punches collided into each other, causing wind and lighting shockwave. They disappeared again, causing everyone to retreat back to the sides as they saw the landscape get destroyed with explosions from their punches. As Darui saw this happening before his eyes, he remembered his orders. Everyone head back to the village now. Raikage's orders. As Dory gave the command, several dozen shinobi refused, saying they would never leave their cage alone to fight the enemy. Just it. They're too strong, Lord A said as he grabbed both of Mais' arms and began to wrestle control of their fight till Mais kicked him in the stomach, causing him to bend over and let go of her arms. Mais, seeing this, kicked him again, sending him flying into the air, knowing full well that the Raikage wouldn't be able to use his speed to move around while he's in the air. Rapid fire, Mais said as she launches dozens of energy bombs at the Raikage, who could only use his arms to block the attacks when they struck him. His forces looked up to where he was and saw numerous explosions covering him in dust and smoke. Mais quickly flew right above him, ready to attack again. Before the smoke was gone, the Raikage could be seen falling to the ground, his white coat complete gone from the explosions, but his body remained unharmed from the attacks. Just as he was about to make contact with the ground, Mais surprised him by dive bombing straight into him at full speed and slamming them both straight into the ground, leaving a hole where they crashed into. Everyone stopped what they doing and felt the ground beneath them rumble. Small pebbles were jumping from the rumble till an explosion erupted from under them, caused by the Raikage uppercutting the general, who pulled her feet into her stomach and pushed with all her might into Raikage's stomach, knocking the air and some blood out of him. The kicks also launched them away from each other, with the Raikage slamming his fists into the ground to slow him down and Mais slamming her feet to do the same. Both the Raikage and the general took a moment to look at each other. The Raikage, even though he looked unharmed from all the attacks, he was sweating and feeling exhausted. He knew that using his lightning chakra release mode gave him an advantage against Mais, but all it did was even the ground in their fight, and his technique was rapidly draining him chakra faster than he can replenish it. Mais was no different. Parts of her fur started to change red in blood from the wounds the Raikage was giving her. Her armor taking some serious blows that was barely hanging on, so she grabbed it and yanked it off, revealing her dark blue sleeveless top she wore underneath. Her face had some scuff marks and a cut lip, her hair covered in dirt from the last fight she had. Mais was quite grateful to Naruto for discovering the new transformation, as without it she would have had lasted as long against the Raikage otherwise. I have to say it's been quite a while when I saw my own blood, Raikage said, exhausted as he began to mold more chakra to continue the fight. And I have to say you are one tough bastard, Mais said with a smile. The Raikage looked at Mais and smiled as well. Both fighters broke their smiles and dashed towards each other, their fists ready to continue their discussion.